Hey everyone, today I'm going to practice loose drawing, but I wanted to show you a book I found at the thrift store that I'm going to be using regularly for inspiration, but I also kind of wanted to show you that there are some incredible artists out there doing some amazing things. Look at this adorable art. And this book is so beautiful. I'm so glad I found this book. It's called Fashionable Selby. It's from, I looked it up. It's from 2014. And let me see if I could find, by Todd Selby. So it's a collection of artists and I guess people in the fashion industry from 2014, but this book was just so colorful and it showcases a whole bunch of different, I would say, artists like this woman. And I think there's just so many great stories in this book with a lot of great inspirational art. And you could just see people are just doing their own thing and creating their own career in art or exploring art without worry of, how it's perceived. They just put it out there in the world. And so that is what I'm doing. And this is just, I can't wait to sit down with a coffee and actually read this book. It will take a long time. The other thing I wanted to mention is I finally got my printer so I could start doing prints and selling prints online on my website. But we are going to get started today with just drawing loosely. It's really, I'm going to focus on drawing loose lines and getting a painting started. The first thing I'm going to do is get a black acrylic marker. You can use a pen, you can use whatever you have. I just have a black acrylic marker. And I kind of just wanted to talk about starting an artwork if you're looking to have loose drawing and just sort of a free flow experience with your art instead of mapping everything out and planning it. I am just doing what I love and whatever I feel like on the paper. But before I get started, part of the process of letting go is just random lines and seeing what happens. And maybe some shapes that you like. I've been kind of into this shape back and forth. I like some straight lines and just doing whatever you feel like. And that's just a good way to get some marks onto your paper before you begin. And then the next thing I want to do is I actually think I want to keep going with some marks with the acrylic marker. So any acrylic markers will do. You can actually just use markers. You can use whatever you want. I just have acrylic markers with me. And I'm just picking whatever colors I feel like. And let's see if these have, I'm just picking whatever colors I feel like and just putting it wherever I want without too much thought. And sometimes it's nice just to do shapes because if you're wondering, you can just do shapes. You don't have to think about it. And the point is to get out of your own head. That is the point, to get out of your own head and see what happens. And that's what I'm doing. And just picking whatever colors that I like. Without getting upset, and you're trying to let go. So you're not, you are literally going fast so that you don't have to think about what comes next, so that you're not in your head thinking, I've got to do this next, or struggling with what comes next with regards to lines, or also forgetting about making mistakes. Because when you're doing something like this, there are no mistakes because this is sort of abstract, right? This is just simple abstract shapes and mark making, which can eventually lead to a really fun, creative drawing or art piece. But again, in your art journal, you should be exploring and playing around. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I think I got out of it because I was so into doing videos that I stop doing this stuff. And sometimes you never know what creativity is going to come out when you're doing this. And it really helps too if you are wondering, oh, what, if you're staring at a blank page and you don't know what to do, this is just a great activity. So now that I've done some mark making, I could see if there's anything that presents itself to me after I've done this. And obviously I see a face here, and maybe a face here. I'm not sure. And I'm just going to go with the flow. I'm going to grab my oil pastels. And again, my focus is not on thinking, but if I see something, I'm going to try to bring it out. And I really love oil pastels over the acrylic markers. And again, I'm really trying hard to avoid thinking. And so that is what is going to happen here. I'm not going to think, which is hard to do once you see something, but you want to let go and not force it. And that's what I'm going to do here. And also don't be afraid to use different materials in your art, which I want to use the markers because I saw faces here and I don't want to, I find if I use the oil pastel to draw the eyes, it makes a mess because it's not sharp enough. So I'm just going to draw the eyes here. And again, this is my own sketchbook. I don't care what it looks like. It doesn't matter. So if I get the eyes wrong, or if I'm doing acrylic over the oil pastel, this is just, this is just for me. This is not for putting it out there to sell. It's just to create some art. So I kind of feel like I see the back of a cat here, right? That's interesting. So I'm going to keep going and just pick colors that I like. If you're new to my channel, I have an ebook available on how to draw faces. I have a few ebooks available actually, how to draw faces, how to draw whimsical faces, and just some coloring pages. If that's something you're interested, I'm going to include a link to my website for my ebooks in the description and in the comments. And I don't know what I'm creating. I'm just trying to really not control everything. That is my goal, is to not control. And that is hard to do. But spring is coming. I seem to be into the flowers. And so I'm trying to work quickly and just see what comes out. This table just really wants to make a noise. When you work quickly and you're just picking colors that you love and bring you joy, it's amazing sort of what comes out. Your art style definitely will show up because your arms are moving faster than your brain. You're literally just throwing color and lines and mark making onto the paper. And once you stop thinking, that's when your art style shows up. I also want to mention there are times during this whole process of creating this artwork where even though, you're trying to get out of your head and stop thinking, your that inner voice seems to be chattering quite a bit. And there are times where I think I've made horrible mistakes with the woman, with the faces on the right. They're, her eyes are too close together. I've made a muddy mess. But as soon as I sort of let go of those thoughts and I just grab more oil pastels and I keep going, all those thoughts fall away and I allow whatever to emerge to show up on the paper. And if you're new to this and you are not sure, what to do on the paper, I definitely encourage you to do what I did at the beginning, which was just get your marker and let the line, just create whatever lines you want. But if you start with some markers or oil pastels, you can also just focus on shapes and patterns and lay those down on the paper, because if you're putting patterns on paper and shapes on paper, it ends up looking beautiful no matter what. So if you're afraid to draw a face or, make a mess, even though honestly you should just let go and see what happens. If you can't do that, if you're not able to quiet down that inner chatter in your head, which is very hard to do, just focus on creating different shapes that you like and that make you happy, and choose colors that you like and make you happy. And at the end, you're just going to really love the whole process. You're going to feel better. You're going to feel happy. I know I just feel so happy when I'm done creating. And you're going to look at your artwork and it's going to bring you joy. And now I'm just pushing around the oil pastels with my oil pastel. I find for me, that's how I like blending and seeing how those colors merge together to create this sort of dreamy look. And so that's what I'm doing here. And I'm trying to create skin tones that aren't actually skin tones. So I'm using like a grayish color and purple on this face because I just want to avoid trying to draw something realistic. I don't really necessarily want things to look like what they're supposed to look like. I feel like I want to be able to look at my artwork and discover things that I didn't even see. Like, why am I putting a face on, two faces there with grass and a cat up in the left? I have no idea. But again, forget trying to make sense of it. That's not what you're doing. You're not trying to make sense of it. You're just letting go and seeing what comes out on the paper. And who cares if it's weird? Who cares if it doesn't look perfect or isn't something you want to show anyone? This is almost like therapy, like art therapy. And for me, it's like the colors and the shapes. And I forgot how much I love doing this. And I did this kind of art with acrylic paints 10 years ago. And I think it was just, I had a lot of fun doing it. And so I'm really happy to share this with you and get back into it on YouTube. I am back on Instagram, Krista Irene Art on Instagram. I got off for a while, for well over a year, and I decided to create a new account just so I could track my progress and see how I'm doing on with regards to my artwork. So if you want to follow me, feel free to do so. Tag me if you're doing any of the artwork that I'm teaching on YouTube. I'd love to see what you're doing. This is the final art piece. Sometimes I have to stop recording when I get into the zone of painting and I want to get right in front of the easel. And so I couldn't record the whole thing, but I think the purpose anyway was to just show you how to start an art piece with just loose lines and not thinking, and using what you have. I just have some oil pastels and markers, just general sketch paper, and just letting out whatever comes through the pencil or pen or crayon, through your hand and onto the paper. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions about my art process or any questions about the materials I'm using, just leave a comment below and I will answer. Thank you all so much for watching and have a wonderful day. Happy sketching.